today's podcast I'm talking to Jim Peterik, Grammy Award-winning songwriter for Eye of the Tiger, who is in Idols of March and formerly Survivor. He is here today to talk about his band Pride of Lion's new album, Lionheart. Hello Jim, and thank you for coming on the show.
Hello Trace, thank you for having me.
When did you first start playing the guitar?
Oh man, we're going right back there, you know. Well, I started playing ukulele when I was 5 years old, and that's the gateway drug to a guitar. And my hand was so small I couldn't even wrap my hand around a ukulele when my sisters tried to teach me ukulele. That's how small and young I was. But gradually I flew up and I begged my parents to buy me my first electric guitar when I was 11 years old. Under the tree was this piece of junk guitar. No, it was okay. It was what they could afford. And I cherished that guitar, and I still have that guitar, Trace.
Is that your favourite guitar?
Oh, no. No. Sentimentally, yeah. But, you know, I flew up. And not to change subjects too radically, but I am a guitar collector. I didn't know I was a collector. I just knew I could never sell anything, so I just kept them. And thank God now, at age 70, November 11th, I'll be 70, I've acquired 235 guitars.
What guitar would you say you use the most in your playing and recording career, and why?
I guess my Desert Island guitar, there's two. One is this one, which is a Gibson SJ200. Been around the world with me. It's a great guitar, and I could never part with it. And as an electric guitar, I think I like the Gold Top Les Paul 1969 that I bought when I was 18. And that was a guitar I played vehicle, you know. I'm a friendly stranger in a black sedan. Won't you hop inside my car? I got pictures, Kenny, I'm a lovable man. Take you to the nearest star. So that guitar I cannot part with. Too many memories and too many good times.
Who were your early influences?
Well, you know, before the Beatles came along, I gave away that. We really loved the instrumental bands like The Ventures with Walk, Don't Run. You know, and we loved the Beach Boys. And, you know, Brian Wilson is, I still consider him a genius, and I've had the pleasure of writing with Brian and the Beach Boys, with Larry, and we had a song called That's Why God Made the Radio that was quite big, in the States at least. But I would say those bands formed me, and then when the Beatles hit the Ed Sullivan Show, lights out, it was all over. That was like the second coming of, you know, it was just crazy. All the Ides of March were around the TV. We're going, that's what we want to be, you know? Good-looking kids, original music, great suits, and the girls were going crazy. What more can you ask for?
How would you describe Pride of Lion's style of music?
Well, I think it's a progression from the work I did with Survivor, which melodic rock is I think the overall genre. Melodic, a lot of big melodies, a great vocalist. Well, I share vocals with the amazing Toby Hitchcock. So lucky that I found him 18 years ago. He was sitting in the front row of an Ides of March show, and afterwards he introduced himself. He said, I'm Toby Hitchcock. You guys were great. And I said, finally I find you, because I heard from many people that this one singer from Indiana was fantastic. So I invited him over to the house a few days later, and he blew us away. And that's when I called Serafino from Frontiers. He wanted to do a new album. We didn't have a group name or anything. I said, I found the singer. And he said, what are you going to call it? And I said, how about Pride of the Lions? He said, great. So they flew in. Toby flew to Nashville, as did I. And he kind of auditioned for the record company. And of course, blew everybody away. He was only like 24 years old. And Serafino looks at him and goes, Toby, you're just a baby. You're a baby. But I'll tell you, he's a baby with a big voice.
Does he still surprise you with his capabilities?
Always blown away. You know, he's always so prepared. He comes into Chicago. Of course, I send him songs when I write them, and we track them, and I send them to him. By the time he gets to Chicago, he's got 12 songs totally learned. And in 2 days, he's got a voice that never gets hoarse. I hate him because I'm like, you know. And he did so great. Almost every album, he did 2 or 3 days, all the tracks, and flawlessly.
Lionheart is the band's sixth album. How does it compare to the previous albums?
Well, that's really for the people to decide. In my opinion, it's the best one we've done since the first one. I mean, the first one, I had 6 years to write that material. You know, I left Survivor in '96, and it wasn't until '91 or '92, so maybe 7 years, to work on material. So there was obviously a great backlog of excellent songs. And I love that song, Sound of Home and Gone, which Larry helped me write. Just a landmark album for me, and the fans loved it. And then we've done 5 since then, and I feel they all had some great songs on it, and some, it's the same group of musicians every album, which is neat. We're a real band, and we're not just a bunch of studio cats. Mike Aquino on guitar, Eddie Beckenfeld on drums, Clem Hayes on bass, Christian Cullen on keys. But this time, I was just like determined to, if not beat that first album, at least equal that. And I really put my best foot forward, and I think it came out really well.
Lionheart the single is an uplifting song. How would you describe the lyrics?
Well, that's funny you should ask, because I just printed the lyrics because it's such a important song to me and to this album. Some say the meek shall inherit the earth, and the poor shall be rich, and the last shall be first. Though I'd like to believe that's not the world that I see. Against the odds stands a generous breed. Giving back is their code and their creed, for they know in their hearts, by the grace of God, that could be you and me. So they reach out to the heartbroken and homeless, and they offer them more than their prayers. Lionheart, helping the hopeless in times of need, clothing the homeless with children to feed, singing their song to the human spirit. That's the nature of that song. It's giving back. It's helping people that you are more fortunate than, doing all you can. So generosity is the theme of that song.
Carry Me Back and Sleeping with a Memory are very nostalgic titles. Would you say this album is nostalgic?
I'm a nostalgic guy. Not that I live in the past, but I mine the memories that through my whole life. And in this one, I'm really kind of going back to when I first met Karen. It's a very special song to me. I mean, you could interpret this differently. It could be someone you just met, carry me back, and that girl could still not be in your life. And, it's the way you interpret the song. For me, though, it's about Karen and I, and those wonderful times when we met. We met at a Turtles concert, the group that did Happy Together. Anyway, we loved the Turtles. We met them standing in line to see the Turtles. And sometimes I carry myself back to that day, and the day I met Karen, and 48 years later, she's still my wife. So, did something right.
How did the video for Carry Me Back come about?
Well, Toby lives in Indiana, but we wanted it to seem like we were in the same universe. And in these crazy COVID times, we didn't want to do the cliche of the masks and the social distancing. And I think everybody's had that up to here. We wanted to look like a very unaffected video from the 80s, where we're both performing. There's a cute gal who's, the love interest, and the one that carried me back to her. She was just a great actress here in Chicago. I didn't know her at all, but she was really cute, and I almost auditioned 5 or 6 girls, which wasn't too hard on me. It was kind of fun. But this girl had the personality, and she did a great job.
What would you say is the softest song on the album?
The softest song? I don't know if soft is the right word, but Now is just a gorgeous song. It closes out the album. It's really about appreciating now. Don't worry about the past. Don't think about the future. Sometimes you just got to live in the now. And it's very bittersweet of a song. The other one that Larry helped me write is Unfinished Heart. And that's also the bonus track for Japan, the unplugged version. But Unfinished Heart is kind of like my Man Against the World, or my Ever Since the World Began from the Survivor days. Although, unfortunately, we don't have, Dave Bickler is still with us, of course. Jimmy Jamison, sadly, has passed away like 7 years ago now. But Jimmy did such a great version of like The Search Is Over. We wanted to capture that kind of feeling with Unfinished Heart. We wanted to capture that man against the world thing that Jimmy did. And Toby knocked it out of the park. And Unfinished Heart's one of my favorite songs on the record.
What is the inspiration behind We Play for Free?
Well, it's something that I've been saying for many years, that when you stand on stage, that's when it's all fun. But leading up to that is a pain in the ass. You know, all the traveling and the flights and the bad hotels and the road food, and we get paid for that. When we step on stage, all is well, and we do it for free. So that's the crux of the song, and it's true. And if we could just teleport ourselves to that stage, we'd be great.
What do you think the fans will say about Rock and Roll Boomtown?
Well, most of them are too young to remember. But for me, and you can interpret the song many ways. For me, it was the first time I came to L.A., Los Angeles. A lot of us, all the Ides of March went there. We had a #1 record called Vehicle in 1970. And we went to L.A. to promote the song, do the Dick Clark show, the Mama Cash show, play the Whiskey A Go-Go with Tony Joe White and Stephen Stills. And we're having a blast, you know. And the music, the billboards, huge billboards with the next album by all these big bands, and we're going, holy crap, this is pretty fantastic. That was the Boomtown in its heyday. As the decade wore on, towards 1978, 1979, LA was not the place it used to be. It was very polluted. There was a lot of homeless people on the streets. It didn't have the glamour. It didn't have the magic. This song goes back to when it was Magic Town for us, and just that impression we got when we first landed in Los Angeles.
How do you stay objective when producing the songs?
Not easy. You know, Larry's not only my engineer and cohort in the Ides of March, but he's also fiercely opinionated, not in a mean way, but he's the one to set me on track if I'm chasing a windmill, you know. He'll finally go, you know, this is a good song, but you've done better, you know, or change this section, and I'm going, what do you mean? It's perfect, you know. I'm very stubborn, but finally I'll listen to him, and usually I'll say he's right. So he's kind of my bounce back guy. Toby Hitchcock always has a good opinion. Most of the time he loves what I've done, but he changes things to, you know, more suit his voice. Breaking training here, I love my band so much. Mike Aquino on guitar, oh my God. I call him my Swiss Army knife of guitar players. He can play country, rock, heavy metal, blues, classical. He's all things to all people. So I'm very, very fortunate to have him.
You produced a number of new artists. Has this changed the way you work in your own bands?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's always a good experience to look from that perspective. And it has, I'm that guy, you know, when we work with like Ron Nevison, of course, the great producer who did Led Zeppelin, but he also did two of the biggest albums by Survivor, which wasn't a big album, but it was our first album, the one with the girl on the cover. But he also produced one of our biggest albums and my favorite album called Vital Signs. And I love the way he produces. So when I produce another artist, I think of Ron Nevison and how diplomatic he was, and yet he really knew how to lay down the line. So when I produce another band, I try to be tactful. I don't say, hey, you suck. No, I say, that song could use a little work. You know, that bridge is... So I learned a lot from Ron Nevison, I think.
You co-wrote Songwriting for Dummies, so what's the one tip would you give to a budding songwriter?
Well, if I only had one tip, I would say write from the heart. You know, don't just make up a song that you have no relationship with. Write about something you know. Some situation maybe you've witnessed or had yourself. There's nothing more real in a song than telling your story or some kind of thing that you can relate to. Because if the writer can relate to it, chances are the audience can relate to it. So write something from the heart that's relatable.
You co-wrote so many classic songs over the years. How do you keep the writing spark alight?
That's a good question. A lot of people say, don't you ever get writer's block? Well, I do, and I don't force it on those days because you can't write every day. you have to give it a little bit of breathing room. But if I ever do have writer's block, Trace, I co-write with myself, and that sounds weird, but I'll go down in the basement. I have reams of notebooks for the last 40 years. And I'll just close my eyes and reach for a notebook and open it up. And in any given notebook, it's full of ideas, hooks, and melody. Well, there's tapes also. And I grab a tape, listen to that, grab a melody, grab a lyric. In essence, like you're co-writing with yourself. That always jumpstart a new song. And so that's how I shake the writer's block.
You collaborated with a number of artists over the years. Is there one person you would like to record a song with?
Many, but most of them have deceased. But John Lennon was always one of my idols, and I have a studio downstairs, not just this studio. This is in my home, by the way. This is the main studio, but downstairs I have a studio I call Lennon's Den. And Lennon was a kind of weird guy, but man, what a genius. And if you listen to his catalog, you know the songs that he wrote, and you know the songs that McCartney wrote, and they're both great. But Lennon's songs and his voice was so fantastic. As far as people that are living, I'm blessed to be writing right now with Robert Lamb of Chicago. It's phenomenal. Of course, I just finished an album with one of my heroes, Dennis DeYoung, formerly of Styx. And part 1 came out a few months ago, and now part 2 will be coming out very soon. So, and then Brian Wilson, I'll be writing with him again, with Larry and Joe Thomas, and a lot of dreams coming true, So I'm a very lucky guy.
During lockdown, you recorded 2 songs, Empty Arena and Comeback Story. Can you explain a little about them?
Wow, you're very well researched, I must say. Well, Comeback Story is just about the country and optimism about the virus. When I wrote it, I really thought we were going to be fighting and coming out of this virus by now. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We're still looking for our comeback story. But that song is all about hope and not giving up hope. Empty Arena. That's just when the coronavirus hit. And I was ahead of the curve, unfortunately. I saw a film clip of a football game, and the guys are throwing that football and getting touchdowns and tackles with no audience. This is before they put the fake audience in and the crowd sound. And I said, this is the sound of one hand clapping in an empty arena. I thought it was so sad, these sports figures. And I remember a lot of bands were starting to do that as well. Famous bands were playing to empty auditoriums. And I thought it was such a sad thing, and it's such a noble thing to flex your craft when perhaps no one's in the house. It's really difficult to keep the juices flowing when there's nobody there, but you do it. And I've been pretty successful in imagining an audience and the response. And it's not the same. I thrive on that interaction when Pride Alliance plays live or the Ides of March play live. You feed off of that, and you give a better performance.
What else has been keeping you busy during lockdown?
Well, like I was saying, writing with Dennis DeYoung, writing with Chicago, Robert Lamb of Chicago for a new record, writing with so many different people. The writing end of it doesn't have to go away, because nowadays you can send files. Robert Lamb lives in LA, I live here. We're constantly sending files back and forth, finishing things. He'll do a vocal in his closet. Trust me, they come out really good, but he doesn't have a professional studio in LA, but he's got this big walk-in closet, and he has a tape recorder and a good microphone. So he'll do it there, send us the lyric, and we'll overlay it to the track. It's a weird way of doing it, and it's not ideal, but it's turning out really great.
2019, Idol celebrated their 55th anniversary with the album Play On. Can you tell me a bit about the album?
Yeah, I mean, the Ides of March have been together now for 56 years, which is insane, and we still love each other. The original 4, Jim Peterik, Larry Millis, Mike Borch, and Bob Berglund, we're thick as thieves. We have a blast. In fact, we're rehearsing this week, Friday morning, and it's mainly for a live stream we're going to be doing from the Arcada Theater for Christmas. So we're working up Christmas material. A lot of it we know already, but we're going to add a few new Christmas songs. Every year we sell out the Arcada Theater for our Christmas show. So we're gearing towards that with the Ides of March.
Royal Stage released their second album, Winds of Change, in 2019. What was the concept behind the band?
That's a unique project. I had one out way back when, 1999, 2000, called World Stage, Jim Peterik and World Stage, and it had Dennis DeYoung, and there's so many great stars. It's basically, all the people that I admire so much, and I've been blessed to get these people over to my house and record. Same thing happened with a couple of years ago. Serafino Perugino calls me, "Maestro, time for another World Stage album." And I said, of course, yeah. But, the logistics of that are really daunting. That's why it took so many years to make another one. But suddenly I'm on the phone to Mike Reno and all these different stars, But it was a difficult album to pull together, but a magic album, I think, because everybody really got into it. And your chemistry is always different when you work with another artist. And a lot of times, that person will co-write the song with you, which is another great thing. So you get songs that aren't totally Peterik songs. They're kind of a collaboration, which is always interesting.
We had the sad news yesterday of Eddie Van Halen's death. What are your memories?
Innovation. When I first saw him, it was a video, and it was Running with the Devil, and I'm going, and it started an eruption, I'm going, what is he doing? This is amazing. Blown away, totally blown away. And his showmanship, he's all over the stage. And I was with Survivor at the time. I said, "Frankie, did you see this cat, man?" He says, "Yeah, he's amazing." And like I said, he's not just a technician, he's a musician. I mean, he'll do the tapping and he'll do the bends and all that stuff to impress you. But when he's very melodic, you can actually sing his leads. And I think that's the mark of a true, not only a technician, but a musician. And I really admire him. I met him a few times, once at a party. We just kind of had a beer and hung out, and he was very cool. He knew about Survivor and liked Survivor, which was like a huge compliment coming from him.
You're a songwriter, musician, producer, fashion icon, author. Is there anything else you want to achieve?
Well, everybody says, "What's the best song you ever wrote?" and the most popular song. I said, well, I really haven't written it yet. So even to this day, to this moment, I was just in session with Larry, writing a new song, which I'm going to present to Robert Lamb. I'm always trying to beat what I did, and I don't know if I'll ever beat the popularity of Eye of the Tiger. I think that might be a once-in-a-lifetime event. But it doesn't stop me from trying to achieve that and more. And that's what keeps me going. When people come up to me and said, and say, "That song changed my life," or I got married to The Search Is Over, or all these stories, they mean more to me than anything you can imagine.
Anything else you wish to mention?
Oh, man. I'm just going to keep it on, and I love the fans. I love the people that appreciate my music. I read all my reviews. Most of them are good, thank God. But, I'm constantly trying to beat myself. And, of course, people like you spread the word. I so appreciate your knowledge of my career, and, of course, everybody's that you interview, I'm sure. That's really about it. I got some work to do, so keep rocking.
Pride of Lion's new album, Lionheart, came out on the 9th of October, and I'd like to thank Jim Peterik for joining me on Rock Chat with Trace.
Yeah, baby.
Rock Chat with Trace.